Two teenage girls, barely old enough to drive, standing on the 18th green of a major golf championship. The crowd holds its breath. One girl lines up her putt, a chance to make history. The other stands a few feet away, her heart pounding, knowing that everything she's ever dreamed of could vanish in a heartbeat. This is the moment when history was made by two unstoppable young golf prodigies. Meet Brooke Henderson and Lydia Ko, two of the most extraordinary talents the sport has ever seen. These didn't just show up and play well, they absolutely dominated. They shattered records, making seasoned pros look like amateurs. And as they climbed to the top of the golfing world, Brooke and Lydia found themselves on a collision course. Two forces of nature, both driven by an unrelenting desire to be the absolute best, each standing as the only obstacle in the other's way. The media called it a rivalry. The fans called it a show. But beneath the surface, what was really happening between these two teenage phenomena? Well, the truth is far more explosive than anyone could have imagined. Our story begins not on a golf course, but in two very different corners of the world. In New Zealand, a young Lydia Ko was already turning heads. By the age of 14, she had become the youngest person ever to win a professional golf tour event. Yeah, you heard that right, 14 years old. Most of us were still trying to figure out algebra at that age. Meanwhile, across the Pacific in Canada, Brooke Henderson was making waves of her own. Also at 14, she became the youngest person to win a professional tour event in Canada. Sound familiar? It's like these two were destined to be rivals from the start. But here's where things get interesting. Despite their early successes, Lydia and Brooke weren't exactly household names. Golf, after all, isn't exactly known for its teenage superstars. But that was about to change. Let's rewind the clock to 2012. Lydia Ko, just 15 years old, a skinny kid with glasses and a smooth, effortless swing, steps onto the course at the CN Canadian Women's Open, a professional tournament. For most 15-year-olds, just being there would be a dream come true. But Lydia? She doesn't just show up. She walks away with the trophy, stunning the world by winning the entire tournament. Let that sink in for a second. A 15-year-old amateur beats a field of seasoned pros. Unbelievable, right? But here's the twist. In that very same tournament, there's another rising star turning heads. Brooke Henderson, just 14 years old and representing Canada, is out there too. She may not take home the trophy, but she's competing with the pros, holding her own and proving she's a player to be reckoned with. Fast forward to 2014, Lydia Ko is now the youngest player ever to reach the world #1 spot. She's 17 and already the best women's golfer on the planet. Meanwhile, Brooke Henderson finishes 10th at the US Women's Open. She's 16. Are you starting to see a pattern here? These girls aren't just good, they're completely redefining what's possible for their age in the world of golf. They're both great, but when comes the rivalry? Well, we're about to get to the good part. It's 2015 and Lydia Ko is on fire. She wins her first major championship at the Evian Championship. She becomes the youngest major winner in LPGA history. The golf world is going crazy. This kid seems untouchable. But on the horizon, an unexpected storm is brewing, and its name is Brooke Henderson. In 2016, Lydia Ko won her second major at the ANA Inspiration. She's on top of the world, seemingly unbeatable. The talk in the golf world is all about Lydia. How many majors will she win? Could she be the greatest female golfer of all time? She was on a roll. And then, just like that, everything changes. Brooke Henderson had other ideas. June 2016, Sahali Country Club, just outside Seattle. The stage was set for the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, one of those 4 majors we talked about. Lydia Ko arrives as the undeniable favorite. She's won the last 2 majors and is the world #1. This tournament should be hers. But Brooke Henderson? She's there to shake things up and crash the party. That Sunday, Lydia started the day with a 1-shot lead. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. She was playing solid golf, looking every bit the world #1. But Brooke wasn't about to roll over. She came out swinging, literally. She started making birdies left and right. The crowd was getting into it. You could feel the energy shifting. Then came the 11th hole. Brooke was still trailing, but not by much. She had a long eagle putt. We're talking 90 feet here. The kind of putt that, if you make it, people talk about for years. And guess what? She made it. The roar from the crowd was deafening. Suddenly, this wasn't just a golf tournament. It was pure drama. It was a spectacle. This was rivalry at its finest. Now, it's the final round. Brooke is 3 shots behind Lydia with only a few holes to play. Most players would crumble under the pressure. Not Brooke. She goes on a tear, making clutch putts and hitting incredible shots. Then, on the 17th hole, Brooke sinks a 35-foot birdie putt. The crowd goes wild. She's tied with Lydia. Winner takes all. They both par the 18th. We're headed to a playoff. 1 hole to decide it all. 2 teenagers, carrying the weight of expectations, their country's hopes, and their own dreams on their shoulders. The pressure is unimaginable. How are they even standing up straight, let alone hitting golf shots? The playoff begins. Lydia hits first, leaving herself a long birdie putt. Brooke steps up. Remember, she's 18 years old. This is the biggest moment of her life. And what does she do? She hits the shot of her life, a perfect 7-iron that stops just 3 feet from the hole. The pressure was now on Lydia. Her approach is solid, but not spectacular. She had about 20 feet for birdie. She gave it a great run, but the putt slid by. Brooke steps up and calmly rolls in her short putt. Game over. Just like that, at 18 years old, Brooke Henderson becomes a major champion. She had taken down the world #1, ended Lydia's major streak, and made it clear to the world that there's a new powerhouse in women's golf. Now, you might think this is where the rivalry really heats up. 2 young stars, battling for supremacy. You'd expect trash talk, bad blood, and maybe some side-eye on the practice range. But that's not what happened here. In fact, what happened next is what makes this rivalry so fascinating. Instead of bitter rivals, Brooke and Lydia become friends? That's right. These 2 competitors, who have every reason to view each other as enemies, actually like each other. After the tournament, Lydia is gracious in defeat. She praises Brooke's play, calling her amazing and an inspiration. Brooke, for her part, talks about how much she looks up to Lydia. It's a far cry from the cutthroat rivalries we're used to seeing in sports, but it's real. These 2 young women, both achieving incredible things, find a bond in their shared experiences. But don't think for a second that this friendship dulls their competitive edge. If anything, it sharpens it. As the next major event loomed, all eyes were on Brooke and Lydia, who would reign supreme at the 2016 U.S. Women's Open. The media was having a field day. Headlines screamed about the Battle of the Teens. Golf analysts were falling over themselves trying to predict who would win. It was Brooke versus Lydia, Canada versus New Zealand, the upstart versus the established star. But while the world was trying to pit them against each other, they were just playing golf. When the U.S. Open rolled around, Brooke and Lydia found themselves paired together for the first 2 rounds. But instead of tension, there was laughter, chatter, fist bumps. Brooke and Lydia strolled down the fairways like 2 friends out for a casual round. They complimented each other's shots and shared jokes between holes. This wasn't how rivals were supposed to act. This wasn't the cutthroat competition we were used to seeing. This was different. Yet their friendly demeanor didn't make the competition any less intense. Both players were giving it their all, fighting for every shot. They pushed each other to play better, to dig deeper. It's just that they did it with a smile instead of a scowl. As the tournament progressed, Brooke and Lydia found themselves in contention once again. But this time, neither would walk away with the title. In a twist that no one saw coming, it was neither Brooke nor Lydia who lifted the trophy that Sunday. Now let's fast forward a bit. Over the next few years, Brooke and Lydia continued to battle it out on golf courses around the world. They traded wins, shared leaderboards, and racked up more accomplishments than most golfers do in a lifetime. But their rivalry, if you can even call it that, never turned nasty. It never became about one-upmanship or proving who was better. Instead, it became a partnership of sorts, a mutual push towards excellence. In an interview, Brooke was asked about her relationship with Lydia. Her response: "Lydia's amazing. She's an inspiration to all of us girls out here, and I think everyone in the world, basically. She's done amazing things in her career, and she's only a couple months older than I am." Not exactly the words you'd expect from a bitter rival, right? Now, their story isn't over. As of 2024, both Brooke and Lydia are still competing at the highest level. They both have won a combined 33 LPGA titles, including 5 major championships. They've represented their countries in the Olympics. They've rewritten record books and redefined what's possible in women's golf. And to top it all off, this same year, this rivalry had its reunion in the very place where it all began, the KPMG Women's PGA at Sahalee. It's been 8 years since then. They're no longer teenagers, but they're still pushing each other. But now, they are a powerful friendship in the course. So, this is the story of Brooke and Lydia. They came into the sport as prodigies, became champions as teenagers, and emerged as role models for athletes everywhere, and changed the face of women's golf forever.